Hello. Welcome back to the Brickanista Broadcast Network. Hello, I'm Naomi, the Brickanista, and I'm here with Yano, my friend, who is dressed fabulously, by the way. We decided to dress up because it's the season finale. The season finale recap episode of LEGOMasters Season 2. And as you can see, we are here to celebrate because we got through the entire season. And we have had some interesting speculations and ideas about what has been happening. And I definitely think it's time to celebrate. And thank you, Yano, for bringing me on this journey.
Yeah, thank you for following suit with metallic blue eyeshadow.
Yes. For those of you who don't see it here, should I make myself
big please.
Here? Okay. So I had mentioned to Yano, I said, I will get some glitter makeup. And I did not get this. I'm just going to do a shout out to Urban Decay. So this is called Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal. It's glitter gel. So I'm using it on my eyes. And she said I could put it in my hair too. So thank you, MX Bricks. Yes. Y'all look so fancy. You love it. Thank you
so much.
And woohoo. Yes. Thank you. And so, yeah, I had mentioned to Yano, I'm indebted to you, honestly, because you remember last week I wore that crown of flowers and I wore a t-shirt with long gloves and a shawl.
So fun.
I had so much fun, and I said, I think I'm going to actually get some glitter makeup. So I do have the eyeshadow on my eyes. I do have it also on my hair. She said you could use this pretty much anywhere. You can use it on your body. She said you can put it on your face, your body, do whatever.
It's the 1990s all over again.
Yes.
Glitter
and there's
gel.
Like multiple colors. So I went with the blue because I figured if I use it like eyeshadow, it would probably look better. So.
And I was saying, I made sig figs for us for today's
episode. Let's see.
And I was saying, now I need to upgrade.
Upgrade my glitter on my hair. It looks amazing.
And she does have some printing, some little sparkles on the side.
Oh, look at that. That's cool. Yeah, you asked me to send you this dress so you could see it, so you can work on that. Oh, nice. This is where we need Matthew Builds Bricks and his disco lights going in the background. If you missed it, so yesterday I had my almost 8-hour stream on Twitch because it was my Twitch anniversary, our stream anniversary. Yes. And it was so great to have back-to-back guests coming on. And Yano was one of those guests. And we had other guests kind of dropping in based on their schedules. And it was just such a blessing to see so many great people come on and be able to have a lot of fun. And I danced for the first time on stream yesterday as well. And then I had mentioned to Yano when we first started chatting and started doing this show that I said, I definitely need a makeup consult with you. I think you've really helped me elevate my look. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for those of you who are new to the Brickanista Broadcast Network, we have been doing this reboot show, I think, for the last now 7 weeks. This used to be on Remy Baker's stream on Brick Literacy. So what I did is I took the episodes from his show and put them into a playlist with the ones that we've been doing here. So if you scroll down on my homepage on YouTube, you'll see this LEGOMasters Season 2 recap episodes, and it has the entire season. Nice. So you can see all the episodes from the very beginning until today. And I'm so excited to be working with you. And I'm kind of sad, though, too, because this is going to be our last recap episode.
Yeah. Well, until next season, maybe.
Next season. Yeah.
And
season.
And we do have Moto coming on later tonight.
That's right.
As a very special guest.
Yes.
But we're going to run through our slideshow first and then bring them on and chat.
Mm-hmm. And this is all 3 in the daytime.
Exactly. And then all 3 in the nighttime.
Yes. And no surprise, Wayne and Zach had the tallest build.
Right.
They always go large.
Yeah.
I think every single competition, they've always gone large.
Right. And I would guess, knowing what we know of knowing what we know of what we don't know about the challenges, there probably was a height requirement that they didn't say on screen. And it seems like usually there's certain dimensions that each build has to meet.
But during the show, since we're looking at all three, you notice that the one on the right, Caleb and Jacob's, that they knew as they were working that theirs was the smallest of the three.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that they said, we can't change it. We're locked in.
Right,
and
right.
So I think they kind of knew that they were at a deficit right away.
Yeah.
It's still amazing.
Mixed Bricks, I believe that's Maraid.
It is Maraid.
The theme was night and day. So
night and day,
there will be spoilers if you haven't seen the episode. We're gonna talk about who won.
If you don't want to know who won, you may want to tune back in later. So we do love having you in the chat.
Yeah, personally, I knew who had won when I watched it, and it was still an enjoyable episode. So the challenge was to have something in the day, and then once the lights went off, to have lights in the build come on and show something that wasn't visible.
She hasn't seen it, but she doesn't care that we spoil it. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
This is more fun anyway, as some people.
Right. That's what Debo said when he watches the episodes afterwards. He goes, our shows are more fun to watch. Totally. So great.
So our first build is Zach and Wayne's Pagoda of Our Lives, which I love. Sounds like a sitcom title or a soap opera.
Oh, and Joel Marbella is here. Hello, Joel. How are you?
People who probably haven't watched the episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you watched the episode either, Joel? Well, and going back to Wayne and Zach, I think one of the things that the judges have said a number of times is that they have a harder time sculpting.
Right.
And I think even the dragons that they put on the sides of the building, that they still... I mean, they kept using dragons over and over, but the sculpting is still not as polished.
This one's really blocky, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
That face, that's a dragon face front on, and it's just like a square with eyebrows.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's fun.
Snake, right?
Right.
Does this one have wings? Because remember that comment Amy said about the other dragon? Did this one have wings?
I don't believe so, no. Not all dragons have wings.
Well, but it goes back to the dragons, right? So this is more snakes, right?
There is an arm there. I'm also noticing what I love about looking at these screen captures, which I captured, but I still notice new details. I've got it on a monitor up here. So I'm noticing the lights are underneath these little clear pieces that are they're often used as little windshields or something. It's like a curved surface 2x2, which is very cool.
So Joel wanted us to know that Asian dragons don't have wings.
That is what I thought. Yeah, not all dragons. And there's a lot of cute little vignettes in here, and we'll see some of them have better shots when it's at nighttime.
Right.
The ninjas, it's great building. I like the character builds.
I wasn't too keen on the yellow, and I know Debo makes fun of me about this, but the red and the yellow, I would have preferred a different color.
Yeah.
I think personally, but that's okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and Maraid, I agree. Clever lighting techniques.
Yeah, we'll see a lot more of those in this. That's definitely something I wanted to point out when I.
And this almost had a waterfall kind of look in the center, which I thought was very nice.
That. And so here we can see on that white dragon, those lights were green lights under those clear face.
Bricks. Yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah, that is nice.
And we'll get more into these interior details.
But and also with the backstage lighting, this really pops. It looks really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the show is beautifully shot for sure.
So Joel says red and yellow to means someone is hungry, like they want McDonald's.
Right, or just like a stripe of ketchup and mustard on your hot dog.
Well, and they did say that this challenge, so since Mairead and Joel, you haven't seen it yet, they were given 24 hours to work on anything they wanted that had a different look during the night than it did during the day.
Yeah.
So there's no theme per se.
Yeah, and the brief, they said something like, reveal something new when the lights are on, or when it in the night. And I don't feel like this really does that. It's just like things that were not well lit are better lit, but everything's still visible. I guess that's not true of the dragons though, because that dragon lighting is pretty good.
And Joel thinks that they were hungry when they ate it.
And so you can see, I think they said this was the sushi restaurant.
Right. I think the second floor was the sushi restaurant because each floor represented something in their lives. So there's another floor that has the archery. And I think the first floor, was just the two of them as kids growing up.
Right.
So it's almost like, if you can imagine your timeline, but going vertically instead of horizontally.
And then here's, those ninjas in the background, but this time we had the lion sculptures in focus, which I thought were nicely done.
Yeah, see, the lion sculptures, I didn't see that until you brought that forward, because that would have been better if they had lit those too.
Right, right. Yeah, a lot of the way this show is shot, it's all these like moving shots, and you don't get a chance to really focus on things.
Yeah, that's why I really appreciate you getting these screenshots, because you see these details.
Right. And then here is, once again, I'm going to forget which one is Zach and which one is Wayne. Here's the one that has a family. One. The one that has a family. This is his family.
That is Zach.
Which,
Zach's
again,
family.
Okay, this is Zach's family. I knew that. Again, I think it's cute character. Like, you can see the legs are just 1x1s, but they're a little bit twisted to, like, give it a little more...
Yeah.
A little more expression. I think it's cute.
It is adorable.
And you can see the really sloppy lighting, which, like, I don't think we were supposed to see it from this low angle.
Yeah,
where you can see the wires.
The cords. And are those Lego branded lights? Probably not.
No, they were just string lights.
I think they gave them lots of different options. And they are cute. I agree. And also, just one of the things throughout the season, this set of brothers talked a lot about their culture and a lot about their family and how much it means to them.
And a lot about archery.
Yeah, here's the archery floor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I really do like about Zach and Wayne, is how much of their history and family they bring into everything.
The culture and just and the appreciation for their culture too, which I thought was awesome.
Absolutely.
And for their families.
And I just love this like stern archery
angry
expression.
The angry eyes, yeah.
That was not a bullseye. Try again.
No soup for you. And then so Mairead says the show is certainly not filmed to center the bricks as much as I want. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the building techniques, and this is an entertainment show, right? Exactly. And a lot of the focus is on Will Arnett too, even with the puppet banter that they had at the very beginning.
Right. I definitely
so Billy makes a callback as well.
I feel like the target audience for this is not us. It's not A-Foles who are like know what a Lego build looks like and what it takes and wants to see how everything's built. I don't think we are the target audience for this.
We are definitely not the full target audience.
Right.
Yeah.
So this one's beautiful. Mark and Steven's Warden of the Woods.
I loved this one. And this also reminded me of Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with the Ents.
I feel like they probably said Ent, and the producers were like, no, you can't use that word.
Oh, that's why they called it the Warden.
Right.
Oh, that would...
But it is basically an Ent, yes. Oh, there you go, Joel.
Yeah, Mairead, I agree. That would be great to have a 4-hour behind-the-scene director cut. That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is so Groot. I am Groot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought about Groot too, but because it was so tall, it reminded me more of the Ents from Lord of the Rings.
And here you can see again, just like the string lights kind of wound in the trees.
Yeah. Yeah, with kind of those fairy type of lights.
Right.
And I agree. This is gorgeous, Mairead.
It is.
And I think too, this was also, they talked about why did they choose this? It's because it reminded them of growing up and being in the woods and camping and doing those things, and that this creature looks over all of the forests throughout the world. And I thought that was a really great message.
I agree. And it saves people who are lost in the woods. So this is Mark and Stephen in the hand of the forest warden, which I think is very sweet.
Right. The warden, to me, I think of prisons. So that's why when I said, why did you pick Warden of the Woods? It's
right. I get probably just for the alliteration. I have a friend in Jenner, California, who actually is a steward, a land steward.
Yes.
So that might have been a better word.
Would have been better. Right. But
and I like these leaves. The leaves are very interesting. They read well from far away.
Yeah, I think their use of color has always been really good throughout the competition. So even on this wide shot where they have the blue at the bottom and the sparkling that was taking place to kind of represent the water, flowing. And then they have the purple and the orange and the brown. It's really lovely.
Absolutely. And their use of movement, those of you who have not actually watched the episode, the reason to watch this episode instead of my stills is to see this in motion.
Yes.
Because all of these lights in the base were on motors.
Right.
So those were moving. And then these like branches on the shoulders were just kind of gently waving, which really had, even though it was stationary, to me, it really felt like
it was walking.
Yeah. Yes. So their use of motion was outstanding.
Yeah, the use of motion, and then the eyes really popping with the lights out.
Yes. And this crystal too is so fun. And they were saying they put a lot of lights in each spot. So whereas the other teams maybe like strung the lights out a little more, that's a very smart move. Because each little LED, if they're all using those string lights, doesn't put off a lot of light. But if you like coil them up and concentrate them in one spot, that's very clever.
Yeah, that staff and the light was one of my favorite features of this too.
Absolutely.
And I think the foliage that they put around it was so smart, because it kind of goes back to the Lauren and Brian comment where they said there was too much gray, and then they put all the flowers on it. And so they just the fact that they made some of this just the rocks, not a lot of foliage, and then the bottom had the foliage, that was super smart.
It's very smart. And some details that I noticed in this image that I didn't really catch is like these little roots coming off of the leg are really cool. And there's two little rabbits, maybe more, but two that I spotted that are so cute, which again just gives it that sense of scale. Although this is probably as big as a minifigure, this rabbit. But
so apparently, Joel says the Brick Fair Dragon build had moving lights for the water too, which is awesome. And there's the other rabbit on the right as well. Very cool. And Joel, you're so funny. It was either Brick Fair or Brick Rodeo, one of the two. Yeah, I just love this build. This was just gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah,
I'm noticing too, really like this rock work along the edge, kind of going in and curving, and then the water spilling over.
Very smart.
Dark blue into light blue into clear for the moving water. Like I'm loving this more the more I look at it.
Mairead says it's an ant-sized rabbit. Well, I do think that this was and this was my favorite of the three.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
And so spoiler alert, they are the team that won. Hi, Devo.
I also predicted this last week. If you rewind the tape.
Right.
You are JH. Okay.
And I definitely, based
Zach
on
Martinez, hello.
Hi, Zach. Based on this challenge specifically, I think they definitely should have won. this challenge.
Yeah.
As for the whole season, honestly, I don't have strong feelings. I think if anyone had won, I would have been happy about it. But this challenge, they really, really knocked it out of the park.
Right. Yeah. Really, really sweet. Okay, cool. And then we have our third and final build.
Yes. Caleb and Jacob's The Lands of Time.
The Lands of Time. I just think this is such an innovative idea.
It is.
OMG. And when they took the time in that one scene where they're turning it upside down and placing it in.
So nerve-wracking.
Oh, wow. But talk about just an ingenious concept. It just, the really scale was, and they knew it going in, that the scale was kind of small.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the concept, the overall shape, the way that they did the, like, I think it's like clear cylinders on flex tubes, like, is genius. I think I don't love what's inside of the hourglass as much as I want to.
Well, they kind of limited themselves, though, and they knew that. They said by the time they figured out theirs was much smaller than the others, they couldn't go back. They were committed.
Yeah, of course. But I feel like the Stranger Things set, you know, how it's kind of a mirror of the thing, but it's like the darker version.
Yeah.
I feel like something a little more like that. Like it looks like a metropolitan city down here, and then it's like kind of foresty, naturey up here, but it's not. They just don't. And like the mass is very different. It doesn't feel as balanced as or like reflective as I want it to.
And both Joel and Debo agree that it's probably the most creatively original build of the three, and totally agree with you on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is the only image I was able to get where these aren't spinning. So most of the rest of the shots are going to be out of focus because they're moving.
Yeah.
But it is great greebling.
And the greebling was nice. I think I would have liked to, like, I love how they used the white against the brown because a lot of that really popped. The top, I kind of get that they wanted it to be dark, but it was almost too dark that you couldn't really see the details.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they could have come up with some happy medium that, like, maybe on the blue scale, so it kind of gives you a sense of it being dark, but not so dark.
Yeah.
And then Debo says, I don't think it's the size that was the issue, but that night and day were shown at the same time. Good point. Really good point.
So there's a little of the night.
And the bat was cool.
It was really
the wings
cool.
Opened up when they had a little bit of motorization on there too.
It's a great mechanism.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of those little tiny gears.
Yeah. And the bat was cool.
Absolutely. And they did have some other like little small bats, which we'll get to. And so here, I like the city was moving in one direction, and then the people were moving in the opposite direction. Some little vignettes down at the bottom.
And the bats were really clever since it was upside down, that you would have upside down bats.
Right.
And so Debo agrees that the bats are amazing.
Right. Bat is amazing.
And yes, the build did have some movement. Not a lot of movement, just kind of subtle movement. The wings of the bat moved open.
But this part is spinning slowly in this direction that my mouse is going. And then this direction or this layer in the opposite direction is going really quick.
Yeah. Now, I didn't notice the minifigs until you've given us this close-up shot.
Oh, yeah. It was like they were running.
Yeah.
Or dancing.
But that doesn't really make sense why they would be running. I don't know. Maybe it's the whole thing about running out of time.
Oh, maybe. I don't know if they thought about it that hard, but I like that.
Yeah.
And then just another picture of
and
that.
There's some lavender there. Black and lavender.
And then
so I was happy to see the lavender.
Yes. Here it is at night.
Yeah. I think Debo also kind of hit the nail on the head that this was showing night and day at the same time. And then even with the lights out, it didn't really dramatically change.
Right. But these were disco lights. They were the only ones that had like flashing,
those were
moving
hilarious.
lights, which was a nice touch.
There's a party going on inside the time hourglass.
Right.
And so, so Mairead says, ooh, yes, those cool lights. And then it's a time thing. Everyone in the world of Warcraft video game is always running. Oh, sure. I don't know if they're Warcraft fans, though. What does that mean? Totally 2021.
Oh, friend? My hat is, so for those of you just joining, I am, is my Sig Fig cosplaying as me? I don't know how to describe it, but this is a brick built Lego top hat that I made to mimic this little top hat. Fully Lego accessorized today.
Essentially, Yano made 2 Sig Figs, one of her and one of me for tonight's show.
Yes.
Because she asked me, what am I going to wear tonight for the finale? So you can see I got the bling going on today.
Yes. And for Joel, who is recently converted to pulling minifigure arms off, I've got the one of the rockers with the studded jacket. I'm using those arms to mimic
my sleeve here. The Met Gala Lego, Yes, exactly. Yeah, we just need the one that says tax the rich on the back.
All right, so these images, let me
get this back to, there we go.
These are not great images. I think part of the challenge with this is they just didn't photograph it well either. But you can see there is a little bat that's hanging upside down with its wings closed, which I think is very cute. That is an interesting point, Debo. Yes. Same with the RC cars. That was not Lego either.
Yep. Yeah. Lego is not good at several things, and one of them is lighting.
And then they said something about adventurers out exploring. So this was never well shot, but I think this is a minifigure riding on a bat.
Oh.
I think that's what that's supposed to be. But did not hang correctly.
I did not notice that.
And was not photographed well.
Wow. Okay.
So there we go.
Wow.
And I guess those are all of my images.
That's perfect timing because we have a special guest waiting in the green room. Did you have any last comments before I bring in our guest?
I was looking for, this is the image. Just one more point. I love in this city where everyone's running and dancing and there's disco party lights, that there's someone down here taking a disco nap. I just thought that was a great touch.
Well, it takes a lot of effort to dance, right?
It absolutely does.
So, you got to take a break. I'm surprised they don't have napping stations at disco places,
Right.
Think about it. If they put napping stations in, it's another form of revenue, right? You pay for the
coin-based.
Yeah. Yeah. Take your nap and then you get out and then go back on the dance floor.
You have 2 more minutes. Insert $5 more.
Well, they make those pods. If you've seen those sleeping pods that they have at corporations, and then what they do is it's like a little egg dome that's open, and the dome is over your head, so that when you're sleeping, the whole thing will vibrate to wake you up. Yeah, so it could be done. It could be done. So let's welcome to the stream our special guest and LEGOMasters Season 2 contestant, our favorite Tricky Lug, or one of our favorites. I shouldn't say the favorite. One of our favorite Tricky Lug members, Moto. Hello.
I have to move over. Moto. Hi. How are you?
Welcome to our recap episode. He got dressed up for us too.
Yeah, looking fly, Moto.
Gotta have my Kelsey bracelet. Direct from Dawn.
Yes, we saw that, the Kelsey bracelet.
Gotta have it. Gotta have it all.
Moto.
You're welcome. I'm never sure. I don't want to button the top, so this is what you're gonna get.
It looks great.
We love it, and it's also kind of you and I match. Look at that.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Next time, if I see you in person, we'll have to get a photo op.
Oh yeah, that's the latest thing. Well, I don't know if I'll have this shirt. I went a little bit more just black and white, professional. Still have a bright, the bold pattern, just not colored. I sucked all the color out and desaturated it for you guys.
Yes. So everybody's impressed. Moto is fancy too, as well. All that finery. I am agog.
Ooh, that's a good word.
And also, you'll notice that we have matching paisley.
Of course. It's the only way to go.
We did not plan this, though. I didn't tell Moto what I was going to be wearing.
Nope. Just happened to one of those unscripted television moments.
Yes, indeed.
Make the most of it.
Welcome to the stream. And
Hello.
What are your initial thoughts now that you've seen? Well, you already kind of knew, right, as far as who won. And no, you didn't know?
Oh, no. There are COVID protocols. There was nobody in the audience. It was a empty room, if you noticed.
Right.
The family members were done virtually. There were some other additional virtual components that were shot but not added to the show, so I can't talk about them.
Of course.
But I had some inkling of the finale, but I did not have. I didn't know who won, just like you guys. I didn't know who was going to win. I had a good idea, but we all have our theories until they play out, and that's why it's so fun to watch the show.
Exactly.
Debo says we should show up at the gala in the same car.
Certainly.
I don't think Moto's wife would be too happy about that.
She's fine.
It won't just be like a clown car.
Yeah, what kind of car?
It could be, all of us.
Car is the question.
Like I'm imagining like a Paisley clown car, and then everyone coming out in Paisley.
We should do that. We should totally do that.
Yep.
That is hilarious.
We need the 5,000 different cats from the Lego movies as well.
Or the clown cars. We can all have a clown hat in Paisley.
There you go.
We could be Paisley clowns.
Yeah, I'm into it.
That could be fun. So were you surprised by the ending then, Moto, if you didn't know how it was going to end?
No, as I was watching it and analyzing the builds and seeing how they're coming together, by the final reveal, I was pretty much like, yeah, that one's epic. And also, it was mentioned before, the same lighting effect was used for their Sea Serpent build. They displayed that at Brick Rodeo and Brick Fair, Virginia, both conferences. So it wasn't either or, as both.
Oh, okay.
But to see that in person was pretty impressive. I had not realized, of course, that it was the same lighting effect. I just put two and two together when I watched it.
Right.
But even to greater effect on the the forest creature, because the internals, the eyes, and also the motion. Once they set the motion on all these, it made a big difference. All three of them had a great sense of motion and usage on it.
Yeah.
But I don't like to analyze them too much, other than I went back today and really put the slow-mo down on the videos, like you did with the screen captures. It allows you to not just give the knee-jerk reaction due to editing, because they're always the editors will always favor the model in the best lighting and the best position. Whereas you get a slight look toward the backside, and these are meant to be viewed 360. So a lot of things that people forget about is the judges are there to evaluate all of these in the 360, the full round, and they take their time and they look into the details.
Yeah.
And they really spend time in person with the models, which you can never replicate. So I always get a good chuckle out of all the people saying, "Oh, this team was robbed," or "should have been this," or we can all have our favorites, but second guessing the judges is not in my line of business. I trust those guys implicitly. No, they had it dialed in every time. This one was a bit of a surprise toward the end, but on fourth viewing, I kind of understood the reasoning. I think you guys got there as well with your analysis.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's always hard to know in a finale of something like this, like how much is track record coming into play.
Right.
Which, I mean, Mark and Steven had a great track record, don't get me wrong, but like if the judging is like this specific episode, like if you won this final challenge.
That is the brief. This is the challenge, not the entire season. So you have to ignore that. Right. Another thing that trips people up is the personality and the likability of the teams versus the board itself.
Absolutely.
You have to separate that out as well. Unfortunately, you have to review the piece and not the team.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to, is they're getting, and by the way, the talent is so high high on this season, and especially in this finale, that you're having to get down and pick at little things in order to differentiate and make a discrete decision between them.
Yeah.
So that's also something that comes into effect. It's not saying that all of these are spectacular. I didn't hear that if all three were going to be on display, but hopefully all three were saved and will be on display, not just the final one.
They just mentioned the final one, but you never know.
They said that in season 1, and then they brought all three
they ended
to
up
Legoland. So I'm hoping that all three will be on display like the first season, because...
And this time they'll be in Florida instead of New York.
Yeah, yeah. And
Debo asks Yumoto...
They'll move them to another... They'll find another Legoland. There's always another Legoland, right?
There's so many. But Debo has a question for Yumoto. How would you rank the final 3 builds?
Well, I'll back up. So instead of the final, I'll talk about every other episode. Every other episode going into this one.
Okay, but before you do that, Joel also, I want to make sure Joel's comment gets acknowledged too, that he would have liked to have seen the judges deliberating more instead of just standing aside and, okay, this is our decision.
Right.
Yeah, they do make a large production of it in Australia, but they do have a longer runtime. So they are able to show Brickman truly going through his thought process, and you get inside the head.
Yeah,
and it leads you along to the conclusion a lot more gracefully, and rather than, they got it wrong. You actually see the reasoning behind it, or a little bit of it. That would have been nice. No, I was going to say, to a T, I fell in line with every single judgment on the rankings throughout the series. I think there's one time I transposed it and I got it wrong. It was one of those, like, because I hadn't watched it very thoroughly, I was obviously in error when I went back.
You froze again, Moto. So while he's thawing out,
he's deliberating.
Apparently,
am I back now?
You're back. You're back.
Yeah, she said that Amy didn't want to see them deliberating on TV. Okay,
and that's fine. That's up to them.
Interesting.
As contestants, we're not there, so I don't even know if they have cameras on them. So that footage may not exist. It may exist. Who knows? Yeah, it's kind of up to them. I mean, production's going to listen to their judges, hopefully, for their input. No, I think the ranking is fair and just in the end of it. On initial viewing, I was caught off guard by Caleb and Jacob being third, but I think after thinking through it and looking through it and many of the reasons you gave, but also the reverse side of the bat was pretty exposed. You could see the wiring; it wasn't finished off thoroughly. That was another little chink in the armor that I think may have added to it. That might have contributed, but all in all, I think it laid out very, very well. And I could see that judgment. I don't know. I agree. I agree with them.
In answer to Debo's question, you rank the top 3 the same way that the judges rank the top 3?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. So I think that Debo had mentioned that Brickman's critiques, I guess, which is in the Australian version, I think are really enlightening. So it would be kind of nice to know what they see, but it's just a different method.
It's interesting. For the finale, he doesn't really critique as much as you see his thought process. And then the final critique comes down in the end where he talks through it. And one thing I like.
Oh no, Moto. we need to send Moto some Patreon funds to upgrade his internet access.
It won't help. I've upgraded.
You've upgraded?
I need a tech to stabilize my wires outside my house. So the telephone wires were put up in the 1930s. That is the problem.
Is that why?
Yeah, that would be
It's a core infrastructure problem, like most of the United States. It's not going to be easily fixed at the last 10 yards to my house.
Unless you wanted to go with a Wi-Fi booster and then tether it from your...
This is hard networked into the line. This is a Cat 10.
Okay, maybe a cell phone booster then. You can use your cell phone and tether off of that. Pretend you're on the road.
Or just build another cell phone tower out of Lego. That would work, right?
Probably make it worse.
Or maybe he needs to just move to a house that has a better wiring.
No, I cannot move at this point.
No, we wouldn't expect you to move just for
I like how he talks about this effect where he says, there's a model and it grabs his attention and then it holds his attention. So I'd like to go back. I don't know if you guys are familiar with season 2 of Australia with the steampunk build. There was a beautiful Victorian house with a mad scientist on top of a hill, and this steampunk mecha thing came crashing out of it and was raiding this Victorian house, or this medieval style Victorian house. But they didn't just focus on that central story. Throughout the entire village, there were all these side stories, like there were little grave robbers, or there was a lady with, I mean, there was at least 8 different side stories of all the townspeople and their own little narratives. And the building techniques, the stained glass in the church alone was mind-blowing. But this is one of those things where, as you were going through all these images, you have that big effect where you're like, oh my gosh, look at the scale of this.
Right.
These are all, what, 4, 5, 5.5 feet tall. They're all massive models.
Yeah.
I mean, just epic scale with lots of detail packed in. And then the question is, are there those little beats of, I see what it is, and then you kind of start to, like you guys were, you start to float into the narrative and all the accompanying patterns. And is there something that's not just the cumulative whole is amazing, but is there little spots where you're like, oh, just look at this little thing or this little thing, or as far as the story, as well as the different techniques used, as well as just the overall aesthetic effects. I mean, clean and polished builds. Dang, I mean, that's what separated this one. Is you look at the polish, I think, between 1 and 2, and I think that's where it started to separate a bit.
You describing that style, for me, my mind's going right to Flynn and Richard's Snake Mountain or California Dreamin', like that. It's like an overall impact, and then the more you look, the more little stories,
more details.
Yeah, and I strive to achieve that. Hopefully this Sunday there's something I've built that will, hopefully you will say, okay, that's got that too. Where it's
for
like,
those of you who don't know, what Moto's referring to is the We Are Family Challenge. We are ARRR Family Challenge.
And thank you for that. So I'm going to put a teaser in for your own work, because you got to hype that thing
Absolutely.
up too.
I'm so excited.
Maybe you should chat about that some more, Jano.
Oh, sure. I mean, I imagine everyone in the chat is aware, but if you're not following that hashtag on Instagram or looking at my Instagram stories, people are doing all kinds of things. And a few people have just been teasing. There's a lot of crossover with Aubrey and Bricksnap's Friendship-tober, which I probably won't get to till after September 19th.
Yeah, I'm
Friendship-tember. Is it Timber?
Friendship-tember.
Okay, good.
It's through the end of the month. The idea is build a ship in Friends themes, which, I mean, Moto, you're very on that, but we have till the 30th on that. But Sunday, September 19th, you can join Tricky Bricks at 10 a.m. Pacific, and then Brickanista's channel at 1 p.m. for some Talk Like a Pirate Day celebrations and slideshows.
We're going to be talking like a pirate.
Amazing. Yeah, I went to one of the most amazing full year costume stores in Denver, and I bought the cheapest stuff, because I was looking like, there was a hat that was like $250. I'm like, I can't lay that cash out for something.
You could buy a set for that.
A good hat,
$250, a nice set.
Well, yeah, UCS scale Jack, whatever. I mean, you can go full on for some of this cosplay stuff they have in this place. But no, I went with my little, and then of course half of it's missing now, because small art director, my son, immediately stole 2 pieces and took them upstairs, and they're gone. So
of course.
Because he's like, I want to be a pirate for Halloween now.
I think it's pronounced small art director.
Yeah. Just wait 5 days, buddy. Come on, give me a fighting chance here.
That's why you gotta hide it in the basement.
I did hide it in the basement.
You did, and he still found it. You hide it in the washer dryer. Kids don't look inside the washer and the dryer.
No, it's certainly not my kid, because he's trained not to go in that thing. That's good. That's good parenting 101.
Right.
Don't ever get in the oven. Don't get in the washer and dryer. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where you hide things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else on the season, the finale, you wanted me to kind of discuss? Because you guys did such a great analysis. There's really nothing more to add.
Oh, there's plenty of things you can add, especially being a contestant. I mean, I think one of the things that we don't see that you got to see is behind the scenes. Like when you're waiting for that door to open, I guess, do they give you any kind of hint about what the challenge is going to be week to week?
Oh, no.
Or do they just keep it and they just say, okay, we're going live in so-and-so seconds, and they want to see your look of shock and awe when you walk out and you see Will dressed in whatever outfit he's in?
Yeah, so it's different between the first time and then every subsequent episode.
Okay.
So you have to keep in mind the very first time you walk on that stage, that is truly the first time you've seen the complete set.
Mm-hmm.
And season 1, it must have been radically different because they had no idea. Like literally, they did not know what the set looked like because no one did. It was brand new.
Right.
We have seen season 1, so we think we know the set. And so yeah, they line you up in a rank order, left and right. And from the first episode, my recollection was I was pretty far in the back, but we're all talking when we shouldn't. We're all just kind of giddy and excited because like, oh my God, this is actually happening. We're going to be on the show.
Right.
And we heard Will's voice come booming over the stage of, okay, let's do this. And we're like, oh my God.
It's really him. It's really Batman.
And the fog machines start gearing up. The lighting starts doing its thing. And then the doors open and you walk out and everything you see is exactly what it's like to see that space, because it is massive. It is so big. Usually late night shows and some of these productions, if you look at the sets, are actually rather small. So they tend to use wider angle lenses to make it appear bigger.
Mm-hmm.
This set really is that big. It is massive.
Wow.
And you just walk on, and of course Will Arnett is standing there in the middle for the first time, just like, oh my God, it's him.
It's him.
Because of course it's him, but it's him. Oh wow.
Right.
So yeah, it's just a lot of shock and emotion to process, and then you kind of get ready, and Amy and Jamie come out, and that's like another level of whoa,
jaw-dropping goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the little things too that kind of accumulate. After the first episode's in, then it's kind of settled into, okay, I know the stage. I've started to memorize the pit. I've got the basics down.
And that's one of the questions. Was there a key or a legend for the brick pit? I know they gave you a tour because we got that from Dawn. She was on our show before.
Yeah, you get a 30-minute tour. Now, I will say, if you know the Bricklink catalog very well, then it's.
He's freezing again.
Gosh. Voice.
Almost.
You're almost there. Let's reel him in.
Come to the light.
Come on, you can do it. Come back to the internet. Poor Moto. I wonder if he can still hear us.
He sounds like T-Pain.
Yeah. He has this also with Tricky Bricks too.
Yeah.
Coming in and out.
It's the trade-off.
What Dawn had mentioned is that you do get the tour. Is he back? There he is. Yay, he's back.
Knowing the Bricklink catalog.
Yeah, so if you know the Bricklink catalog, then the brick pit is organized very well, and you're not going to have that difficult of a time knowing the areas. As far as discrete pieces, it gets a little bit rough, but you just adjust over time. But no, you're always running around and helping each other. Like Natalie was going one way, and I was like, "Where's the such and such thing?" She's like, "I think it's that way," and she said, "I'm looking for the whatever." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's Georgetown toward the end." You're just like ripping back and forth trying to figure stuff out.
That's sweet.
But no, you get. There were differences between season 1 and season 2. You do get a printed catalog of all the elements, about that big, and a digital version of it. Now, in season 1, you could take that catalog back with you, and you could flip through it and start to memorize it off stage. In our season, you were not allowed to take that off stage. It remained on stage, and all of your memorization and going through the book had to be done on the clock.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
So in the end, I found it was, because I know the Bricklink catalog and I kind of knew the sections, it was faster for me just to run to the section and start pulling drawers as fast as I could.
Right.
As quickly as possible until I had it kind of mostly down.
Interesting.
That's still how I find pieces in my collection. The ones that aren't labeled yet.
Early on, there's rare instances where I was struggling to figure out where the piece was, and I looked it up in the book, and then I brought it to the pit masters, and then they helped me out. But that was very, very early on. After about one day, that kind of just faded away, and it was more. But even Caleb and Jacob were finding things very late in the season, like a Technic actuator to lift and make their houses move for the Flip My Block challenge.
Yeah. So there's another question for you, Moto. As far as, do the remaining contestants after an elimination discuss the elimination, like they don't agree with the judges, or is there any discussion?
Is there a veto process?
Yeah.
No. I wasn't there very long, but my experience was we were mostly just sad and bummed.
Yeah.
So pretty much you are grieving the loss of the folks.
Yeah.
And then you have to get right back to the grind immediately. So there's not a lot of time to deliberate anything. It's more of like you're just trying to process the loss, and then you're right back to it. Because this stuff, I mean, shorter shoot schedule, 6 weeks, more episodes, 2 extra episodes. So it was just a grind. I mean, a lot of people don't consider the fatigue.
There's so much that you're doing. And the mental stress too.
Yeah, they should have thought of this, or they should have thought of that. I'm like, okay, give yourself 4 hours of sleep consistently for 5 days a week for 4 weeks, and let's see if you make the same decisions you do. Yeah. You're not thinking as clearly as you would, so it's unfair to put something where you're watching the show and armchair quarterbacking it without the physical exhaustion, mental exhaustion, or even emotional exhaustion of being away from family, but also in a COVID lockdown production where you don't see anybody's faces. Right. You can't leave a property. You literally cannot walk down the street. That's it. You cannot do things. So
Dawn mentioned she had and still has PTSD after being eliminated. Do you feel you have some similar feelings after that? Or?
No. I had the best possible loss, which was like there was no question we should have gone, because the whole point was to walk a runway and the thing disintegrate before you even hit the runway. I mean, to me, that's it took the judgment out of the judges' hands. For me, that was a pretty clear loss the minute it split.
Yeah,
I knew that was it. You can't repair. Pressing it makes it worse. It just shattered apart, and that was it. The only thing you can do is move on.
Teams that disintegrated on stage too, because David Richards also.
Well, theirs broke when he was trying to take his hands off, but it was solid all the way down to the end.
Yeah, that's
true. Whereas ours didn't even make it off the mannequin head. It just it
fell apart.
It did a snap right down the crown and bridge, and that was it. So I was at peace with it. I was more like, at that point I was kind of like, well, I mean, everybody's trying to be nice and like, well, it's not over, it's not certain. Which was a good lesson from the former challenge when I thought we were toast. But in the end, I was like, well, from the previous shake challenge, I thought we were going to get eliminated on that one. So I was just like, every day, every challenge is like a blessing at this point. I'm like a dead man walking at this point is my attitude. So any challenges.
Lack of sleep. Debo wants to know, can you comment on the amount of medium lavender available to contestants?
Sure. So one thing that we had more than season 1 didn't have was friendly colors.
Oh, nice.
I think, if you look through, there's 2 big additions. One was the friendly colors. So medium lavender was there, but it was hit and miss. It wasn't across the board. And you kind of see that in the Lego system. So if you really analyze the catalog and you look at friendly colors, one of the best colors to build with, if you want all types of plate sizes and wedge sizes, is medium azure.
Oh,
that's why the robots, when I built them in the first challenge, had medium azure as the base, one of the primary base friendly colors, because that was stocked and it was across all the different types of plate elements. Whereas lavender is hit or miss. Some of the other ones, like the pinks, bright pink, darker pink, magenta, they come and go depending on the element process. And also the pit is not stacked in breadth, it's stacked in depth. So that is something you have to be mindful of when you are designing.
Interesting.
Is to be very cautious that when you go over to the pit, that you quickly look through the stack and understand, you know, what you're going to have deficits in if you're using those colors. Now, what you have in spades.
If you know the catalog, kind of going back to Joel's comments here about if you know the Bricklink catalog, he talks about getting sucked in. But if you know the Bricklink catalog, you know which parts come in more colors, especially if you're going to be building in that particular color.
Just because it's in Bricklink doesn't mean it's in the pit, though. Like I said, the pit has all the basics. It has breadth on basics, okay, but it doesn't have everything. But what it has is depth. So if you want a 2x4, they've got 2x4s, and those two satellites have all the 2x4s you will ever want for the rest of your life. Because I think we were able to blast out red almost down to the bottom, but that was only because there was 12 teams, and we all started going after red on the episode 2 challenge.
I hadn't thought about that.
That was rare. To crater out basic was next to impossible.
Interesting.
So they have great depth in the pit. But yeah, any retired element, nothing in production will not be in there. It has to be all new parts. So don't go looking for Bionicles. You're not going to find them unless they're the Bionicle ball joint with the brick. That's the only thing that's in there.
Well, Lena would be upset about that because she's big into, or they're big into Bionicle. So if you're a Bionicle builder,
not in production anymore. Yep. So anything that's not in production, don't look for Belleville. You know, all the stuff that we know.
Of course. Which is kind of your strong suit, right? Of like.
Yeah, I mean, I like all sorts of weird pieces and combos. There's no time for that.
No, you just have to build something fast and strong and large.
Like the wolf, like the polytexture stuff. I was like, my advice was don't even do that. Don't even try because it's just too kind of time consuming. You just got to go fast. The other great advantage to season 2 was the addition of all the tile elements from the dots line. So season 1 did not have dots. Dots had not been invented. So ta-da! All of a sudden they're there. And also we had some drum lacquered gold from Monkey Kid in there.
Nice.
So the radar dishes and drum lacquered gold were there. Some of the curly Q pearl gold elements from Ninjago.
Oh, I know. I love those.
Yeah. So if you're looking for just the great finishing details that we would want, I think we also had more curved slopes, positive, not inverse. There was no inverse curved slopes.
Oh, that's got to be hard. Well, MX Bricks is asking about are the colors in the pit comparable to the color availability in actual Lego sets? Probably not.
Absolutely not. No, so for example, they try to represent the colors very well. But one color that's overrepresented, thank goodness, is orange. You will see that like for our robots, one of them was all orange, or you're going to see a lot of orange used throughout the season. Because that is stocked just like as if it was any other primary color, whereas orange is in fact not that popular.
No, it's not.
It is harder to find. It's medium rare, but it's not like a rarer color. Another one was dark brown was in there to a greater extent than you'd expect.
A lot with dark brown. In fact, Yano does too, because we do pirate ships all the time.
Well, I totally was digging, and I hardly have any dark brown. I've got a lot of medium.
Really?
Brown. Yeah, or reddish brown. I have a lot.
Yeah,
of
reddish
brown.
Dark
brown's hard to.
Dark brown's much harder to find. It does show up in there. But once again, if they have a dark brown element, it's there in depth.
What about any of the like new iridescent finishes, which we're seeing more and more things like?
I don't think they were there for the time, or they didn't. I mean, they had to pick and choose. So I think what they chose was very, very well done. And shouts, I have to get a huge shout out to the Pitmaster. And the name escapes me. With the Pitmaster and his crew, early on we wrote a thank you note and all signed it, and they absolutely lived up to that because God, what a job! And
they're taking it all apart at the end and putting it away.
Well, that too. Those guys tearing it down and building it back up.
My hands hurt just thinking about that.
Well, your hands
Lots
hurt.
Of brick separators going. Now, there's a question here from Lena. What was your biggest takeaway from Lego Masters?
I found that I'm so much more capable of building with greater speed because I don't have to worry about perfection. It doesn't, perfection doesn't matter as much. And I used to build that way too, but a lot of my models now sections or broad set chunks of them are still just sketch models, as far as I'm concerned. I don't have to be perfect throughout the entire model. I'm less picky about every little aspect. I'm more about now, does the showpiece register well? Does it read?
Wow.
Is it amazing?
That is
and
valuable.
Then do I focus in on the details that matter and knock those suckers out to perfection? And is there enough of that perfection populated throughout the model to hold interest as the eye travels through it?
Cool.
So that's a great takeaway.
So Lego Masters is about making incredibly beautiful sketch models, but they're nowhere near the amount of technical difficulty I would say that a lot of my stuff like strives to achieve, where I'm pushing the system further than it's intended to go. But it's like you're really good at the basics and use those basics exceptionally well to make incredible artwork. And
so I have a question for you.
It is about speed. There's a lot of tactics to the show that's not applicable to the stuff for cons,
Sure, yeah.
So my question would be, of the challenges that you did, first of all, which is your favorite? And then we know you're really good at sculpting and using plates and certain kinds of different like mixel joints and such. Did you ever feel that you wish you had more time? Because I know it took a lot of time for you to do the wolf's head and do some of that sculpting. So,
well, I knew going in that they're two different things. So I'll talk about the second half first. So, to do a polytexture type build is something that takes hundreds of hours, 150 to 200 hours. So immediately, that's not going to be something I do on the show. That's just off the table. Right. You just have to admit that that's something that you would do sparingly as like a little mech or something, or a little Tyler built character where you're just doing arms and something simple. Yeah. You're not going for this overwhelming, amazing, thing that's going to be mind blowing like a mask or anything.
Yeah.
My favorite challenge, which is funny, is Hat's Incredible.
The fashion show.
The fashion show.
Yeah.
So I love that one the most because, I didn't have a chance to really bring my aesthetics to bear full on in any of the challenges until that one.
Right.
So I think
snake was beautiful.
So yeah, I was responsible for the snake going down. Paris did most of the brim and all of that kind of mixel fabric going out.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
And then kind of Paris started with the top of the head, and then I had to take it over and try to finish it. But that snake was like one of my favorite things that I built, and it looked freaking killer in the beauty shop gallery. So
and we talked about this on another stream about how getting khaki as your color or tan was trying to make that interesting, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about what the heck we're going to do with tan because I almost felt, I think Keelan and Jacob had the same thing when they got the snakes. They probably felt just about as bad as we did when we got tan. We're like, man, that is an awful color. What do you do? I mean, and then once we had
you went a really good direction with
once we settled on it, it was like, that's the way to go and hit it.
That is great. Absolutely. And then the snake was a great counterpoint as far as color and the texturing.
The snake because he's up high and he sees.
It's a really great idea.
Love that one. But there's a lot of things I liked about all the challenges I did. I loved the structure I did for the shake challenge because I did the core. I liked the rainbow. I was responsible for making sure the rainbow loft went up correctly for the exploding challenge. And then some of the robot cosmetics.
Robots were adorable.
Yeah, I like the heads and the eyes. They were very cute. Paris did all the motion. I just did the robot move for the sound effects guys to cue later.
I have a follow-up question to that. Were there any challenges watching the rest of the season that you were like, oh, I would have knocked that one out of the park, or I would love to have done this?
I wish I could have done that. Yeah.
Right.
You will see it on Sunday because my Sunday build is directly lifted off of one of the challenges, and it's a challenge I really wanted to do.
All right.
And what was amazing is, what was so sad is I knew the challenge was coming because Paris and I happened to be looking around the set and we saw it because we saw it pre-staged, ready to go. And we're oh my God, I want this so bad. But then we were eliminated and didn't have a chance to do it.
That is rough.
That's okay. So you're gonna get my version of that challenge, and it'll be satisfied on Sunday. Yeah. So you just got a couple days, and then you're gonna be like, oh, that's the XYZ challenge.
Right? Yeah.
So I thought it was really interesting that we had 3 brothers in the finale. And to me, like, the greatest challenge, and something that I think was a big reason I wasn't cast on LEGOMasters, is having a build relationship with someone else is obviously a key component. And I think the fact that it was all these people that have that familiarity and probably have built together, I would imagine is an advantage. I'm just curious if you have any perspective on that.
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple advantages for the teams coming in the finale. One is, yes, if you're siblings, the trust is implicit in your family. So
hopefully
depends on the family.
Well, the ones that make it through casting, let's say.
Yes,
right?
there you go.
Yeah, let's just say some sibling rivalries can be actually detrimental. Yeah.
Having a build partner where you're able to immediately communicate with them, implicitly know their strengths and weaknesses, and not be so egotistical to say, I know everything and I can do everything. You truly admit your weaknesses to your partner, and you know that the other one has it. And then you merge those very effectively together with similar building styles, or you just speak the same building language.
Yeah.
Or the twins, they may just be able to telepathically say, I mean, a hand gesture, and they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and you kind of saw it play out where especially, like Caleb and Jacob, very early on, you could tell that they were firing on all cylinders, and they knew very well what the other one was doing. There was implicit trust. Now there's always bickering that occurs that never makes it to air, but that's just true of every team. Mark and Steven are the same way, where they've competitively built together for a long time. So that just them being able to immediately kind of position and work, and then work things out very quickly, and then you start to see it assemble. Zach and Wayne are full on beast mode. Those guys are the fastest people I've ever seen put stuff up.
They are definitely fast.
Zach is
known for tanks too. Have you seen his YouTube page?
I didn't need to. I saw his builds in person at Brick Road.
Yeah. So he builds tanks, which are strong and large. And then Joel mentions here that with the remaining brothers, you could tell who the alpha builder is, though.
Sort of. Not with Caleb and Jacob, I couldn't. No, I don't
think so. I mean, maybe with Zach and Wayne, because Zach is definitely more of a builder than Wayne is. But I think the other 2 pairs, they were pretty equal, I think, as builders.
Yeah, very equal strengths, different strengths, but equal strengths. Also, the other thing going in that no one mentions is they focus on the siblings, but they don't focus on the age. So one consideration that I would put forward is the younger you are, the more stamina and recovery you have for this grind.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So now think about a 20-year-old staying up all night cramming for finals versus a 48-year-old like myself staying up all night cramming for finals. It's just physically more difficult to
it's exhausting.
Bounce back and grind through this type of production the older you get. It's just a fact of life. So I'm not surprised to see everything skew a little younger. Right. Now 20s surprised me. I would have started to say 20s, 30s, but folks like me, it's going to get incredibly difficult unless you're trained like Jen is an RN nurse, physically conditioned, or if you were maybe an ex-Marine or someone who's really conditioned into a light sleep schedule.
Or standing on your feet for a long time too.
That's another one.
I think that must have also been draining on you.
Yeah, it's physically very demanding. It is a completely athletic sport. Ragsy worked out in a gym and people were laughing at her, but now I'm thinking like I should have done some running. I should have done some running, and also core strength exercises and yoga. But anything that gets your physical endurance up. I mean, if you are not in great health, you would not survive very long on the show because it is a sport. It's a physical endurance sport. It is quite honestly, it's the Olympics of Lego building. It doesn't happen every 4 years, but it is like
it happens once a year.
Well, if it continues, let's hope it happens once a year, right?
It might.
but it is physically demanding on your joints. It's physically demanding on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
One good thing about the shoe wear is the shoes were pretty much, get for comfort in season 2. I think they learned some lessons early on season 1.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think Ragsy and also Crystal and Amy wore flat shoes and like Chucks, right? Whereas
not early on though.
Right.
Tyler's wife, the other Amy, right? She had to wear heels in the beginning, which is crazy.
Oh, God, no.
And by the way, looking for this
the
comment, but apparently, Yano, you and Mairead are going to be building together, and you better be working out together. It sounds like as well.
No, I was very surprised because one of the few particular things I asked was like, I was real upfront. I'm like, hey, I need my trail running shoes. It's what I wear all the time. My feet get wrecked if I don't have them. But also as a strategic thing, because the trail runners are designed to work well on wet sandstone, real slick rock. And so they have this incredible rubber grip. And
lots of pockets, shoes with grips.
Shoes with grips. Maria swears by ballet shoes. Whatever footwear you think is going to, give you a lot of endurance. Right. And there's a lot of gel inserts going on.
Wow.
Yeah, I imagine
it really is a high impact sport on your legs and your knees and your joints.
Well, Debo,
you're just constantly in motion. You're burning through calories like crazy.
Debo says he works in food service, so he's got his endurance honed.
Absolutely.
Are you listening, Endemol Shine?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what was interesting is I kind of missed the end. Did Will Arnett do the thing like you can apply today for season 3, like you did at the end of season 1?
No, there was none of that.
So there's a little bit of
it's also up in the air
about it's up in the air this time.
Well, don't forget too that they also
to Australia.
Well, they also didn't do this as a continuous season. They had multiple gaps, and that caused the ratings to go way down. They had talked about this on a couple of different like Entertainment Tonight kinds of shows where they're saying, is this even going to work?
Well, on Facebook, I did promote an article by the person who kind of owns all this stuff for Fox, and they're talking about LEGO Masters is performing well in their eyes. So that
it is. Okay, good.
And the reason was it's not performing as well as season 1, but it is performing very well on streaming service, which is not included in the Nielsen ratings.
Right.
So it is one of the strongest streaming performers out there. And I'm hoping that people who wait till the end of the season to binge watch it are going to drive those metrics even higher. So really, the post-COVID world now is all about streaming, whereas going into pre-COVID, it was airtime. But we've all gotten used to streaming. It's our new way of living, right? Is that streaming is probably larger than broadcast at this point, and they don't account for those numbers of streaming the next day or streaming later. Right. And so we're not privy to all those metrics that probably Fox and those guys have. Of course, I want more family. I want a season 3 cast into the greater family.
Definitely.
But, I always I'll give you some unsolicited advice because I get this asked all the time.
Please.
Oh, I want to apply. I want to get on. How do you get on? How do you get on? Well, number one, I have no clue. Because there's a success.
I have a clue for you. Right? You were on a lot of people's lists when there's a part of the form that says, if you can't perform with your partner, who would you like to build with? And your name showed up on a lot of people's lists. So I think if you are well known enough that you are the person that other people, so I'm saying put Debo's name. Everybody put Debo's name on your application, and Debo will get on the show. I'm dead serious.
I'm writing. I
would build with Debo. I think anybody here would build with Debo.
I would say that. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, because it's a bit like an inspirational speaker. They get up and there's a problem with people are successful in low percentage ways. So the fallacy is this person succeeded, but only a few percentage of people succeeded. So if you listen to them, I'll also succeed. What works for me does not work for everyone. So I'm not even going to talk about what worked for me. What I would say is that there's a couple things to consider. One is that you do want a team that has an interesting sort of narrative.
Absolutely.
Because the way you think about it is everybody's like, oh, the teams at the end, they have this great personal narrative that all of a sudden I fall into. Well, no, they didn't. They stacked all 12 teams. So if any 12 of the 12 get to the final 3, there is always an interesting narrative with a personal history and a family and something to talk about that makes the audience connect. That's just built in. So consider that. The second thing to consider,
reality TV.
Well, yeah, that's just TV. The second thing is to consider is it is TV. So are you a person that can talk and be entertaining while you build? Because you have to be.
Absolutely.
You will have Will Arnett in front of you. You will have to banter with him.
Once again, Debo Bricks. Debo could banter with him easily.
Yeah, you do have to be fun, entertaining.
Don Brickles for the win.
Yeah, fun personality, and it has to shine across the team. I mean, there can always be one front man and just a person who's grinding away. You got that with, I call it the Penn and Teller. So you saw that with Boone and Mark.
Yes.
You also saw that with
Natalie and Michelle.
I'd say Zach and Wayne. Natalie Michelle is another one, probably.
Yeah.
And Caleb and Jacob too.
We're now pushing Doc
and Laurel
Simpson in the
and
chat.
Hardy too.
If we get Doc Sampson onto LEGOMasters Season 3.
Oh, yeah. If they bring Will Papette back, it would be Doc versus Will Papette.
Oh, my God, yes.
No, that's another aspect that people tend to forget. Another thing to think about, and this is less important, but you do have to be able to build mocks incredibly well.
Yes.
But also, I'd say in a distinctive way. So if you don't have a large mock catalog, I wouldn't be concerned about it. I would make it as high quality that you can. People understand there's, that there's parts limitations to a lot of people's collections. So like Maria and Philip build very detailed, very beautiful models, but they tend to be not the Lego Master scale, right? Which is fine. But what they do build is they build unique and interesting topics that are different from all the common stuff. So let me list off some common stuff. So if you are looking at someone's portfolio and you're looking at all of the thousands of submissions across the United States pouring in, you probably feel bad for the person if they're hitting Star Wars, if they're hitting Harry Potter, if they're hitting a city layout.
Intellectual property, yep.
Well, no, I'm just talking about themes that are super massive that have a huge following, and so they're going to get inundated with like 10 bajillion variations of a TIE fighter.
Too saturated.
Or you know what I mean? Unless you're at the upper, I'm talking like the absolute top tier of that type of building, where you are absolutely clearly one of the best Star Wars mock builders in the nation, if not the world, then I think you can claim that and write it in. But unless you're in the top echelon of like, if you could list out like 10 builders in Star Wars, are you in that list? If not, then maybe it's time to pivot to something more personal that's interesting, different, and unique. Because I will say that's definitely my stuff. When people see it, if they knew me, they're like, that's a moto. Or they go like, what the heck is that? Because I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, your builds are very distinctive, and you also stay away from intellectual property. You don't, when you do a spaceship, you don't do Star Wars spaceships.
Not yet. I do IP once a year.
Once a year, okay.
Yeah, I'll build a vehicle, a car, usually once a year. So I did Mad Max. You could see that. So I do IP.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I also did the Supernatural Impala. But that's like once a year, I just kind of do a fun thing, and somehow it's that. Maybe I don't know what it would be next year, but there's just certain themes that if you do it really well, or twist it, put a spin on it, or make it your own. I do think that they are looking. Raxy's talked about they're looking for that unique personality sometimes, and sometimes that breaks through the noise.
We're going back to Debo again because Debo has made that Katamari Dharmasi. And he's also done Galactus and some other things in his unique style. I would love
to talk a little bit about...
So we talked about Debo a lot. I would say for Debo, then, it's about finding that right team with the personal connection that has depth and a narrative to it. So that's going to be tricky.
Yep.
Right?
So I have some perspective that I realized I shared on Brick Literacy's channel, like one of our first episodes, and I haven't circled back to. But that might be interesting for anyone that is looking to apply. because I know a lot of us were like I got a message on Instagram. I hadn't sent in an application, and I talked to a lot of people that had the same experience and like got called in for a Zoom interview. So I went into that audition process not like expecting anything or wanting anything. And the casting director, and I didn't get on, so I didn't sign an NDA, so no one told me I can't talk about what my experience was. The casting director really responded to me because I am a bright, colorful person. And like I said, I think the issue is I didn't have a partner I was applying with. But yeah, it was very clear they wanted my personality, my backstory, what makes me as a person unique. Definitely that was more the emphasis. And they're like, and if you've got some mocks, add that to the folder, but like please share a folder of like you with your wife, you with your dogs, like other hobbies that you have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's TV. You're being on for reality TV.
Yeah, but to hit all three of those is very difficult, and then there's a lot more that goes into it as it starts to narrow. I would say they throw a wide net.
Right.
Very wide.
Yeah. So getting that first Zoom call or interview, realize that's thousands and thousands of people, and then it starts to narrow down. And then it starts to really narrow down. So
I think I was pretty late in the process, and the casting director basically said, I have talked to so many just like people alone in their dark basements. Like the fact that you are colorful and like making me laugh is like, it was a welcome relief. So just remember to smile.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about those three big factors seem to show up often. And I've heard it not just from season 1, but season 2. There is, now understand there are archetypes that they are casting for, and do you fit one of the archetypes is another consideration. Now siblings was a big archetype I didn't see coming, but 5 teams were obviously siblings, so that's probably going to be a large factor. If it tested and polled well for our season, it will continue on. Who knows?
Oh yeah, totally.
But also, once you've put all this together into your blender and you figured out what you are, and how you fit into this, or how you think you have a shot at this, take time with that application. So I took time to find a partner. It was not like a rushed activity. And then once I found a partner that worked really well, the other consideration is you need to really think about your application as if you're applying for the job that you've always wanted, but you have weeks if you start now.
Right.
Because
since you were talking about your partner, there is a question that came up about, do you know why your original partner had not been selected for the show? Because were paired with Paris later, right?
We were the only remix team that happened, I believe. So we both think we know what happened, but we don't discuss what happened. We think we know what it is. We don't know for sure because they will never tell us.
Okay. So essentially you went in with your partner, your original partner, and then they said, well, we really like you. And I remember when I was applying, they said, would you be willing to kind of step away if, they decide they're going to split the team up? And I said, sure. Yeah, I don't care. So I imagine.
I can't talk about the language. It's even more vague. It's not like we like you. It's just like, you have to continue without your partner. What do you want to do? Are you cool? What do you want to do next? And then you start to discuss things.
Right. I think the same thing happened with Ragsy and also Sam as well.
They had remix teams in the first season. A lot more than ours. We only had one in ours.
Right. Well, I think they did a good job pairing the two of you up, being the Science Alliance. Did you come up with that name, or did they come up with the name?
Oh no, that was Paris. That was actually Paris.
That was Paris's name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the lab coats were too. To fit into that.
Nice.
I had to go and try on lab coats and find one that I thought was cut to my frame and looked good and fit well and
you wore it well there, Moto.
Well, I'm sitting there in this medical supply store. I'm like, do you have a mirror? And they're like, yes, it's over there. Not many people use it, but go ahead. And I'm,
oh my God.
And they're like, why? Guys just, they don't say anything. So trying to play, but they're kind of like, what? And so I come up to buy this thing. I said, I noticed you guys were looking at me. I'm being cast for a reality TV show, and I need a lab coat that looks good on screen.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, really? Which show? And I'm like, I can't tell you.
I can't tell you, but I need a lab coat.
But if you are watching the reality TV, you might see a long-haired guy in a lab coat at some point.
That's funny. And you sold me that lab coat.
That is
so
amazing.
Debo mentions too, kind of reiterating your point, that Lego Masters wants a bunch of personal backstories and lots of photos too.
Right. So that's the way you can be preparing now.
Well,
yes, you can always start getting those staged photos.
Well, no, it's a little too hard to go back to 9-year-old self and take pictures of Disneyland.
No, but Photoshop isn't that good.
No, and I'm really good at Photoshop, and I'm not that good. Don't even try.
Right, exactly.
But no, I mean, there's basics. So I would say, apart from those three, you have to have good mental health. You have to be strong mentally to survive. That just goes for anything. Physically, you got to be in good physical condition to pull this thing off. And I'm not talking about like, you don't have to be a massive athlete, but you do have to, be in enough physical condition to, run not me like crazy running like that, but you do have to travel from the end of the pit to the front to the back, to be able to the front constantly and do shuttles and constantly put down brick and get your fingers conditioned for all that. You have to pass background checks. So if you have a criminal past, especially a felony, I'd say you're probably out unless you make it part of your personal story as one of redemption. So
good tip.
No, I mean, think about that. So I work in a cybersecurity company. I had to go through a really intense background check.
Right.
And just like any security company, they're not going to allow someone with a felony to work in our industry. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Or, think about any type of checkered past conditions that could flag you out, and you're going to have to either explain them or understand that you may not proceed because of those things. So that's all just water under the bridge. That's just a standard reality show.
I love the idea of the redemption story, though.
I
can totally see that.
My criminal past might actually work to my advantage.
Right. So, like, Lego got me out of doing crime.
Well, no, I mean, that might be that the United States is a big place. So there may be someone out there who, has had a criminal past and has, was convicted and served time, but has since come out and uses Lego education as a way to keep kids off the street.
Absolutely. Yeah. I won't know that reality show.
Has redeemed themselves through this, through their children or through this craft, and has found, they've served their time, they've paid their debt to society, and now they're paying it forward, and they've truly redeemed themselves in their eyes, So, I need to get a car. No.
Yeah, Joel is running.
Joel, you do not want it. Joel, a felony ends your life for the most part.
I was going to say, Joel, you don't want to do that to get onto Lego Masters. Right? It's like, I really want to get onto Lego Masters so I can have a backstory.
Not worth it. Yeah, if you're running a criminal organization ring, stealing and reselling Lego, you're not going to get on Lego Masters.
No, exactly. Joel is going to shave his head and commit crimes just to be on this show. Mairead, no, we're not going to do that. But you know what? I know that Giano has to be on a show in 30 minutes, and we want to give her time to prep. But we would love to have you back.
Yeah, no problem. Just take your time, fill out the application, look at all the stuff that's required. Think about it. Don't pin your hopes and stars and dreams on that, because there's 24 people out of thousands and thousands and thousands. We heard that there was a tidal wave of applications, and season 3 will be no different.
Exactly. It's just going to get bigger. And we're just really proud of you, Moto.
Yep. I didn't get blisters on my fingers because I have calluses. That's how much I build. I build 20 hours a week.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Show that again now that we have you on.
You can't see them, but the thumbs you might. I don't know.
Well, you know what? That could be like your new sign.
Well, I have calluses.
The way you held it up.
Here and here. I have calluses here and here, and then from the show, I got calluses.
See, we can all do this. This could be the new Moto sign.
No, I'm just saying I have calluses on these 3 digits, and it's specifically where you press the brick down.
Yeah,
right. Totally. But if we can make that into an M somehow, that could be like this could be, all of your fans could go around doing
what's up?
It's like Moto. We're fans of Moto.
No. But thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah,
I know I didn't get a chance to talk about the builds, but you guys did such a great job. If you ever want to dive into some weird stuff like that, there's so many weird things when you start to build at all the time or having fun at this level. That's just fun. It's kind of like, yeah,
it's so true.
And yes, there were people that in season 1 were bleeding on the brick and they had to do some patch up. Not on ours.
Oh my goodness!
All of our guys were experienced. The hands got beat up pretty bad, but not totally trash.
Build up those calluses if you want to be on the show.
It's not used brick. It is brand new and it's super sharp, and you feel it, especially that tower challenge. Holy God!
Yeah. Well, thank you again for being on the show, and it's this actually our final show of the recap season. Yano will be back on We Are Family on the 19th. So I do have that 19th show, and I think we're going to probably do some more similar things that Tricky Bricks will be doing at 10. But I just wanted to verify, too, that if you wanted to reach Moto or see some of Moto's work, I believe, hopefully I put this in right. I was typing this on the chat. So moto.lego, is that right, on Instagram? And you also have a YouTube channel, don't you? Is it also moto.lego?
Everything is Moto Lego. I will say this. Go to Instagram because that's the best way just to see the final images of all my cool stuff. It's very efficient. And then you can jump off from there. But yeah, I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and believe it or not, I'm blowing up on TikTok for some reason.
You are. It's that cat head. I tell you, you walking around the downtown streets of Denver with that cat head, that is.
It wasn't even my build. It was just a cool build at a convention. It got like 1.2 million views, and thanks to that builder, epic
awesome.
guy. But yeah, whatever. I don't know. I'm on TikTok too.
And then also don't forget to support Yano, Femme from the Block. So you can find her there on Instagram and also patreon.com/Yano. And you are on the Brickanista Broadcast Network. I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. And I do have an Instagram account. And I will say you've inspired me, Moto. I'll probably have a separate conversation. Maybe we'll have you back to talk about TikTok if you're up for that.
Oh my God!
You do not want me talking about TikTok?
No,
no.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot. If I were to come on, I would
advise
advise that you have a couple other of my TikTok friends on who do it a lot better than
Cody.
I do.
I thought Cody Otley might be another good person because he does TikTok as well.
Yeah,
there's a couple TikTokers out there in the Lego community.
Yep,
and
I know a handful of them. I would say the Stud Buds would be a good place to start. Also, Brick and Mad and her crew are really good.
And if you want to, you could also send a snail mail to me, Brickanista Broadcast Network, P.O. Box 31956, Seattle, Washington, 98103. And with that, I don't think we have time to do this, but I'll just show you. I have a small bottle of Corbel, which, by the way, you can get as a 4-pack, just like beer. And it's got, you can't really tell, but it's like a pop-off top. So I'll be drinking this while I'm watching Yano on Tricky Bricks show.
Yeah, and so if anyone has missed that, cheers, Moto. Cheers, everyone. To the finale.
Maybe I should do this really quickly. Here, let me see if I can get this open fast.
Yeah, so I'm about to head over to Tricky Bricks. So 7 p.m. in 27 minutes. We will be discussing the Fab 5 Loft set, the Queer Eye set. I think I'll be the only person on the stream who doesn't have it in hand, but I've got lots of opinions, and you can hear about them over there.
I can't believe I'm
glad that you're going on. I am supremely unqualified to talk about that set, other than the original.
I am not qualified either.
I avidly watched the first run of it back in the day, but I since moved on. But yeah,
I thought I had.
I recommend it. It's good reality TV if you're into reality TV.
I can only watch one type of show a year, and it has to be LEGOMasters. That's just kind of where I got to go.
Pretend I have this open, but I thought this had a bottle opener on it, but apparently not. Okay, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To Lego
Happy
Masters.
finale.
You're all Lego Masters.
You're all Lego
and
Masters.
you,
We're
and
all
you,
Lego
and
Masters.
you.
You,
You're a Lego
we're
Master.
all Lego Masters.
By the
You
way,
get
the
a
network,
prize, and
the
you get a
network-
prize,
oh.
and you get a prize. So,
by the way, the network hates if you say you're a Lego Master, even if you're on the show. The Lego Masters only the people who won the title. They're very clear on that.
Oh my goodness.
They get upset. So I'm going to
you are
display
not
myself.
official Lego Masters, but we appreciate everybody here who's been listening and watching the shows, and I think that we all just
I am Spartacus.
very proud of you, Moto. It was fun cheering you on. And of course, we also have our sig figs too. Thank you, Yano, for making those sig figs and the recap episodes. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. It's been a wild ride, a lot of fun. And I predicted this. I said I wanted Wayne and Zach, but I thought Mark and Steven were going to win. So, woo! It's like clairvoyant, maybe a little bit. But thank you again, Moto, for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you, Moto. Great hanging out.
And we'll see Yano, too, in half an hour on Turkey Bricks. And we'll see her also at, I think, 10 o'clock on Sunday. And then 1 o'clock on my show. So you're just like doing
How do you keep it up?
I don't stream myself.
She
I'll be a guest. But
yeah, well, I'm always a panelist, but after a while, I know what you're doing. You're conditioning yourself to be on Lego Masters.
There you
just
go.
by only getting
There
4
you
hours
go.
of sleep every night.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I agree. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Maraid. Thank you, Debo. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Lena, everybody who's just been hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. And we'll see you on the network. And as they say on the Brickanista Broadcast Network, may the clutch be with you all. Okay, bye.
I love it.
Yeah.